Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this mini series we're going to be covering the Discord UI. So in this video we're just going to go through the setup, and if you haven't already I suggest you watch my video on setting up the tools and plugins, because we'll be using Parcel in this video. And yeah, so to begin with I just want to analyze the page a bit, and if you notice on the left hand side we have the servers. I think that's what they call them in Discord, where they have these little icons you can click, and then we also have this like channels section which just lists all the channels, and then we've got the chat section. We then have this like who's online and the members section. So if I just do Command Shift C on my keyboard and I highlight some of these sections, we can see that, let's see, so this, the right hand side stands alone, and then we have the left hand side, let's see, beer, and then within this content section we have the sidebar, and then we have another section on the right, and then within there we have a sticky nav at the top, and then we have the chat itself. So I'm just going to start up a new project by going into my command line, and just to make directory I'm going to call it UI Discord. I'm going to cd into that directory, and then I'm going to do touch index.html, and then two ampersands npm init-y, and that's going to initiate a npm JSON package.json. And then what I want to do is code dot, so this is going to open it up in VS Code, and I'm going to do @ parcel serve index.html, and this is going to launch my development server. So if I go into the index.html file and do !tab, it's going to give me a blank boilerplate. So within here I just want to do link, oops, I don't know why this isn't working. And I just want to do styles.scss, sorry, hyphen styles hyphen main.scss, and I now need to make that directory. Let me just close this folder. And I just want to make the directory styles, and then within your main.scss. And because this application is quite small, it's basically just one page, well, at least that's what we're going to be building now. We don't really need to make multiple SCSS files. We can basically build everything out in main.scss. Obviously, if you wanted to be more organized, you could make subfolders and then link them in, or import the SCSS files into here. So I'm going to be using, I think, Open Sans, because it looks quite similar to their own font and it's free. So if you just import this from Google, just going to import the light, regular and the bold font. And then I'm going to do star, and I'm going to do box sizing, border box, and this is just basically for padding, so the padding we apply to any item will apply inside instead of out. And then I just want to do body, font family, I'm going to do open sans, and this is going to apply the font to everything within the body. So if I just go back to the application and I do Command Shift C again, this is going to allow me to pick out colors. And firstly, because we're just doing the sidebar, I just want to go here and do color, and do red, and then I'm going to use the color picker tool, click the left hand side, and then take this color, and then in my CSS I'm going to do -root, I'm going to do hyphen hyphen, and I'm going to do color grey dark. And then I also want to take the green and do the same. And I also want to take the purple. So this is declaring variables we can use throughout the rest of the CSS document. Okay, great. So if I go back to the command line, I will need to restart. Oops, need to restart this. Do parcel serve index.html again. Now if I click this link and open it up, and just test that it's working, I'll just do hello. As you can see, it's displaying up there in Open Sans, which is great. Okay, yeah, so we're ready to start actually styling the application. And I'm not going to copy their CSS exactly, but I'm going to try to do it by eye, so we sort of learn the process. And I want to do a outer div to begin with. So I just want to call it Discord app. You could call it anything you want. And let me just open up my CSS sheet to the right. And I just want to do Discord app. I'm going to do height 100 VH. And then because remember I said we got this left hand side, we want to start off by building this as a div. I'm going to call it servers. And then within here we have icons. So let's just do server hyphen hyphen icon. And let's just do a span in here, call it ATD for now. And we'll just copy that a few times down the page. So if I target this servers div, I can do background var hyphen hyphen color dark grey dark. Oops, I just realized I've named these wrong, so let me just change these. And let's just do height 100% and have a look at the document. As you can see, we've got this like margin around the side. We don't want that. So what we want to do is padding 0 on the body and margin 0. And then on this servers, let's give it a fixed width of 72 pixels. And then let's just do display flex. Flex direction column. And do align items center. So that's going to bring the items into the center. We also want to target these server icons then. I'm going to call it server instead. I could nest this CSS within here, but I don't know if I'm going to be using these icons anywhere else on the page. I'm just going to keep them outside for now. I'm going to do width of, let's say, 68 pixels, height 68 pixels, background white for now, and border radius 50%. And then let's just do display flex again. And then flex, oops, let's do align items center and justify content center. So that's going to bring everything into the middle. Let's just bring the size down a little bit. So let's just say 64 pixels, maybe even less. Okay, I think that looks a bit better. I just want to do Command Shift C again. I just want to get the color grey because this grey is a little bit lighter. And then back in the variables, let's just do grey light. I know we've got loads of different colour greys here, but we'll add them as we go along. So let's just do var colour grey light, and let's just add the margin to the bottom of 10 pixels. Maybe if I spelled it right. Cool. So if you look what happens here when you hover an item, the border radius sort of drops down. So what we could do is add an hover state and do border radius, let's just say 10%. Let's just do transition border radius. Actually, just do transition all 0.26 ease in out. So let's just bring that down to 20%. Maybe a little bit less, 25. Cool. And then we want to do cursor pointer and color white, just so the text stands out a bit. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to add a little bit of padding to the top of the server, and I'd say we need let's just say 12 pixels. Yeah, I think that looks perfect. And if you notice on the top, it's got this separator in between. So let's just see. And the way we want to do that is we can either add a class on this, or we can actually add a break element. Let's just do dot separate server separator. And let's just do dot server hyphen separator. We'll do width, I don't know, let's say a little bit less than the circle, so let's just do 40 pixels. Height 2 pixels, color, and we'll take the same color as the icon, and let's just do margin 10 pixels. Not actually, I don't know if we'll need this. Let's just try it. Okay, oops, background. So let's change color to background, save it, and let's add a margin bottom 10 pixels. And I think it's got border radius on it. Let's do width 30. Okay, cool. That looks close enough. It also has this like side, like selected state. I'm just trying to think of the best way of approaching that. It might be with a pseudo element. So what we can do is add a class here called active. Or maybe, now we just do active, and then within the server icon, let's just do @.active. So if the active class is applied, we can put position relative on the element anyway. Let's just do position absolute. No, actually, we need to do at before to set up a pseudo element before, and then do content nothing, position absolute, left 0, width 3 pixels, and let's just do background white. Save the index file. I'm just going to take this class and put it here. And let's just do a height. We could do margin left minus 15 pixels. Let's give it a width of a little bit thicker, and let's bring the margin left down, border radius up a little bit. So if I bring the width up and then bring the margin left down, it's going to give it more of a curvier shape, then allow me to bring the height up a little bit. And if we bring the margin left a little bit off, should be looking pretty close now. And then I'm just going to copy this and add it to our style sheet. Cool. So if I remove this active class, it wouldn't be there anymore. I don't know what this dot means, but I think it looks good enough for now. And we could actually add these icons in, but I'm going to leave that till the end because I don't want to waste any time. And also I want to add the background green on hover. So if we do a hover, let's just do background var hyphen color hyphen green. Cool, I think that looks really nice. And now we can move on to the right hand side. So this is all one big div, and the way I want to tackle that is I want to call it the, let's just call it the chat outer. And for now let's just do chat outer background red, and let's see how that messes up the page. If we do width 100%, height 100%, okay. So what we want to do is we want to go back to the Discord app and do display flex. So this is going to bring, this is going to bring the right hand side up in line with the rest of the document. And let's see the main color for this. So it doesn't really have a main color. We can just do this, we'll just tackle this straight away. So within here then we've got this channel section. And I just want to do div.channel. I'll just call it channels, and the channels has the upper navigation. Let's see how this functions. Yeah, so it has a nav and it has some text in there. So let's just do h3 Adam the dev. Do a span, and we can have a chevron icon in here. And then lower down, let me just remove this. We have the channels themselves. So we can do, so we can call it channels, I don't know, list. Oops. And then within here, let's just do channels, drop down. And we'll just do a H4, I'll just say voice channels. I call it channel list item, actually, and then we can have dot channels list header. This can have a H4, and it can also have a span for the plus. And we can call this the content. And then within here we can have a span for the audio, and then maybe a H. We'll just do H5 general. Actually, let's just name this okay, this name is getting out of hand already. Okay, cool. So if I save that now and go back to the document, it's going to look a mess. So we can start by giving it a background color of, let's see, we call it gray channel, and we can target the dot channels div, do background var, and then paste in our variable, and then we can, let's just think, let's give this a fixed width of, let's just see what width they do it as, 240, height 100%, and on the let's just target the nav, and let's just do H3 and do margin top 0. It's going to bring it back to the top, and let's just do color. I think the color is, the color in the nav is white. And then we've got this additional, oops, okay, I can't get it from there. We got this light grey color text, so let's just do another variable, grey text. And then we can set the default color of the div text to colour grey text. I just want to see what size fonts they're using. So they're using 12 pixels for the list header. So font size 12 pixels. I have to display flex on this as well. And I'm going to do flex spacing. I think it's spacing. And let's just check. Okay, so what I'm going to do is justify content, space between. This is going to put the pluses out and the icons out to the right hand side. I also going to do, let's just do font size 12 pixels. To justify, now I'm going to line items, center, and then let's just have a look at the padding situation. So maybe for the channels itself we can add some padding of, actually we can't do that because the nav's got a line at the bottom. Let's just give a border bottom to the nav to begin with. I'm going to get the colour. I'm going to call it grey line. And then let's just give the nav a border bottom, 2 pixels solid. It might even be 1 pixels. No, 2 pixels. 2 pixels. And then let's just take this display flex. Justify content, and also we also want to give it the align item center. And remove margin bottom. And we could just do margin 0. And then let's just give this a padding of, let's just try 10 pixels to begin with. It might be a little bit more, 15 pixels. And obviously this chevron makes it look a little bit weird, so let's just add a temporary chevron in. And we now want to apply the same padding for the rest of the items. So let's just do dot channels list, and let's give that the padding of 15 pixels as well. Maybe we can bring this font size down a bit. So let's give it a font size of 15 pixels. And let's see what font size they use for this, 16 pixels. So maybe 16 pixels for the H3 as well. Yeah. And then let's just do dot channels Oops, I just realised I've been spelling channels wrong here as well. Oops. Let me just correct these. I thought it looked a bit weird. Channels, what do we name it? So dot channels list content item. Let's just do H5. Oops. Font size 16 pixels. And we also need to do this item as the exact same classes. We could probably have just made a generic class to have these stylings onto it, because this seems to be like repeating itself everywhere, but I'm not going to go into that too much now. Okay, so we need to take off the space between you. And let's change these audio things just to an arrow for now. To span, margin right 10 pixels. And I think there's some margin on these elements. Yeah, so on the H4, let's just do margin 0. And on the H5, margin 0. And for the H5, let's just do font weight 300. Looks a bit better. Just want to check. Font weight 500. Obviously they're different fonts, so it's not going to look perfect anyway. And let's just add a margin bottom of 5 pixels to each of these. Actually, we could do it as padding. So then what we want to do is, if somebody hovers this, we want to change the background to this lighter colour. So yet again, I'm just going to get the colour itself. And let's just give it a border radius 5 pixels. Maybe we can give padding 5 pixels, 10 pixels. Margin underneath the header. And text transform uppercase. Okay, I'm not a big fan of the issue with if you look at the document here, you see the padding here So this lines up with the icon, the text does, and ours doesn't. So what we could do to combat that is to remove the padding on, let's see. So remove the padding on the sides of the channel list to 0. And then on the H4 or within channel list header, we could do padding left. I can't remember what it was now. 10 pixels. No, just do padding not 10 pixels. And we also need to bring some margin to this now. And we also want to bring some margin to the sides of these elements. So let's just do margin 0, then 5 pixels. And then, let's see. We need to add a little icon in here anyway. Actually, let's just do a little span inside the H4. And let's just do a joking icon for now. Then we can target the span inside the H4 and do margin, no, padding not 5 pixels. Then that should bring it in line. So yeah, it does look a lot better now. Obviously when we actually do have the real icons in, it's going to make a big difference. So I'm just going to change this colour from red to this dark grey. Chat out there. Going to save it. So yeah, I'm noticing the tutorial's getting a bit long now, so I'm just going to end this episode here. I'll just continue recording the rest of it, and I'll upload it as a different upload.